Hi, my name is Peter Parker. You don't remember me, but we used to know each other.
That's my boy.
Something.
5 reasons Tom Holland is the worst Spider-Man.
Homecoming is dark. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. And I say that like...
Let's go ahead and get into today's video. So recently there has been a person on Twitter whose clip is going pretty viral in the community for the wrong reasons. I know some people have been going in on him. I want to start this off just by preferencing this guy he's been in the community for a very long time. Now, I have not heard all of his takes. I'm sure he has some great ones, but today we are going to be debunking his terrible Spider-Man takes. And let's just go ahead and play the clip that's going around.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. You don't remember me, but we used to know each other.
That's my boy.
Something.
5 reasons Tom Holland is the worst Spider-Man.
Homecoming is dark. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. And I say that like...
So, as you all see, he says, "That's my boy." And people have been posting previous clips of him absolutely eviscerating anything that has to do with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Now, I will say this, just to play devil's advocate a little bit. When he's saying "that's my boy," he could be saying Peter Parker. He could be talking about Spider-Man and not talking about Tom Holland. I just want to preference that. That's what he could be speaking on. Now, I don't have the full context of the video, so if I'm wrong, then hey, I'm wrong. But I just want to leave that there just to play devil's advocate, right? Now, this is where he turns into a full-blown idiot, is when he says Homecoming was dog food. Before we get into that, let's get into his 5 reasons for why he doesn't like Tom Holland, or whatever he has against Tom Holland. He listed 5 reasons why. Is he right? Is he wrong? Is he a genius in disguise, or is he an absolute donut? We're going to figure that out today. So let's go over his 5 reasons for his egregious takes on Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
5 reasons Tom Holland is the worst Spider-Man. School means nothing to him. In the MCU, Peter Parker wants to drop out and become a full-time Avenger, when in the comics and in every other iteration, Peter Parker values school. That's where he wants to be. He doesn't want to be Spider-Man. He wants to be in class. Spider-Man is fun for Peter Parker, when in every other iteration, Spider-Man is a curse to Peter Parker. It was a curse that he lost Uncle Ben and got these powers that he is now responsible for using. He feels like he's nothing without the suit. Peter shouldn't feel like he needs a suit to be Spider-Man. Peter is Spider-Man because he feels the responsibility to help, and because he can. He has too much help. In Spider-Man Homecoming, he had Iron Man saving his butt every 2 seconds. In Spider-Man Far From Home, he had Happy save his butt every 2 seconds. And it feels like Spider-Man isn't facing his own battles by himself. He's facing them with a team, and that shouldn't be the case. He has no sense of responsibility. Even after the death of Uncle Ben and Tony Stark, he still doesn't feel responsible to be Spider-Man.
So unfortunately, couldn't be more wrong. He says in almost every iteration, Spider-Man doesn't want to be Spider-Man. He wants to be in class. I think he's kind of reading the character of Spider-Man a bit differently. So we're not going to fault him too much, but it is actually quite the opposite. In almost every single iteration, and from films to cartoons, Peter is struggling with that balance. And there are multiple times where he would rather, where it's simpler for him to be Spider Man than it is for him to be Peter. And so he often comes to classes late. He often barely passes school because his grades are constantly slipping because he's constantly feeling like he can do more as Spider-Man than sitting in a class as Peter Parker. And just to bring up iterations, you have the Amazing Spider-Man run from the comics where he's constantly late or just completely absent from class. He literally says, "I should be in class, but the city needs me." This is that's word for word from the Amazing Spider-Man comics. Let's just get into another one, Spider-Man No More, where Spider-Man puts down the costume and he gives up being Spider-Man. That's where you get that famous picture of Spider-Man's suit in the garbage can. He tries to quit being Spider Man to focus on a normal life, to focus on school, and he absolutely hated it. He realizes being Spider Man gives him life, and and of course, he goes back to his Spider Man ways. Even if you want to use some of the cartoons, if you want to use the spectacular Spider Man, there's multiple times where you can see Peter would much rather be Spider-Man than be Peter in school. There's an exact line in that show where he says, "Why is my life so much easier when I'm in a mask?" So even if you want to go on more, we can go on more. You have the Ultimate Spider-Man where he struggles with this. Of course, you have the movie we're talking about, Homecoming. You have Spider-Man 2, where his grades are slipping in college. So this is a pattern throughout almost every iteration. So that point, I can't even try and play devil's advocate on because the only thing I can say is maybe when he watches those iterations or reads them, maybe he gets a different take out of them. But hey, let's go on to his fourth reasoning. So that's just a weird take. It's a very, very weird take. He says Spider Man is fun for Peter Parker. Spider Man was always fun for Peter Parker. I mean, look at, I shouldn't even have to dig into the comics or the cartoons. Let's just use Tobey Maguire's Spider Man. Literally, from the moment he gets his powers, from the moment he's jumping building to building and swinging, one of the most famous clips from that movie is literally him screaming at the top of his lungs in pure enjoyment of what he's doing. And from going on forward, he doesn't lose that enjoyment. You still get moments of him swinging through the city and screaming at the top of his lungs, having full enjoyment of being Spider Man. Him cracking jokes and use Andrew Garfield's cracking jokes and laughing at the thugs that he's, kind of toying with. Peter is having fun. I don't know Peter can't have fun being Spider Man. I think that's a very weird take to have. Just seems like a take filler, if I'm being honest with you. I just don't see any reason for why Peter having fun as Spider Man is a bad thing. I think if any one of us are in those shoes, like yes, he has those moments where he has those moments where he questions Spider-Man, or like he says, he has those down moments where he'll lose Uncle Ben, or he'll lose Aunt May, or he'll lose his best friend, or that happens. But that does not, we can't say that to say that Peter Parker is not supposed to have fun as Spider-Man. I think um, yeah, that's just a very weird take to have. But hey, if Spider-Man's supposed to be Captain America, then maybe I missed a step. Now, on to his third reasoning for why he hates, or for why Tom Holland's Spider Man is the worst Spider Man. So at this point, I'm very interested to kind of see through the lens that he used to watch Homecoming, because it it's very interesting. He says that because he's basically saying Peter Parker can't have growth. Peter Parker should not grow. He should just start off perfect. He should just start off as this perfect Spider-Man, from Spider-Man who's much more deeper into his path of Spider-Man, has much more experience. He should just start off like that from the jump. Character development, gross. I just don't get why. I don't see what his problem is with character development and character growth. That that point that he makes is literally the whole one of the biggest messages of the movie. And that scene with Tony and Peter is one of the most powerful moments that we've gotten from a Spider-Man. It really shows the immaturity of a high school kid with Spider-Man access to $1 billion suit powers. And that moment was everything, because it was the catalyst for the Peter we have now, for this brand new day Peter that's broke, and he only has his one suit that he made himself. What he went through in Homecoming with that suit wasn't necessary for what we are about to get now. So, yeah, I mean, if you hate character growth, then yeah, I can see why you would have a problem with it. If you expect every Marvel hero to start off as this perfect man, then sure, I can see why you have a problem with it. Hey, to each its own. Let's get into the reason number. What are we on? We just went through three, so reason number four, but as he has it, it's two. Okay, so this take I have seen quite a lot. Him having too much help. Okay, so in Spider-Man: Homecoming, Peter is still a he's still a rookie, right? We see that when he's doing what he's supposed to be, being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, it's calm, right? The moments where he needs help in Homecoming is when he does exactly what Iron Man instructs him not to do, right? And so yes, he had the moment where Iron Man helped him on the ship, right? But Iron Man was already pretty much there, right? Like he said, he's the one who had the FBI waiting. And had Peter had not been there, the FBI more than likely would have ended the situation right then and there, because Vulture would have never had time to go back and get his wingsuit out the van, because remember, he was sitting on the bus already. He was pretty distant between him and his wings. So more than likely they would have got him before he ever got to his wings. Then they would have confiscated the wings and it would have been done right then and there, right? But of course, Spider-Man shows up when Tony tells him to leave it alone and let him handle it. But Peter, this is where the immature kid comes into play, right? I think we're constantly forgetting that this iteration is a kid in high school. So of course he goes against what Tony says, and thus, yes, thus him needing that help from Iron Man when the whole ship splits in half and he's not able to. Had Iron Man not been there, he wouldn't have been able to save everyone. Now, Another moment where he receives help is before that, when where he ditches the party to go see what that big explosion was, and then he runs into Vulture snatches him, and they kind of get into it, and then Vulture drops him. The parachute launches, right, and Iron Man is there, and of course the suit bails him out. I look, if you have a problem with Spider Man receiving help from Iron Man as a rookie Spider Man, that's on you. I don't necessarily say that, I wouldn't necessarily say that that take is egregious. I think that just belongs to personal preference. Me personally, I loved the connection between Peter and Tony, and I think those moments, like I said before, a lot of these moments are catalysts to what we are about to receive in Brand New Day, right? So it's something that Peter had to go through. And at his rookie stage, he needed that help. And for the two times that he did receive the help, I don't really have a problem with it. Because, like I said, Tony was already there in the first place. It's not like Tony came to save Spider Man, Tony was already on it, and Spider Man interrupted it. The only time that I'll give you that the help, right, is during that first where he falls into the lake, but Tony's not actually in the suit, right? Fairs, right? But it's not a very big help. The biggest moments in that movie he does on his own, and that was literally the entire point of that movie. That was the whole growing part, the character development that people seem to hate. But he also says he's calling Happy to bail him out for everything he does in Far From Home. So now maybe I'm incorrect, but from what I remember from Far From Home, the time he calls Happy is when he is literally stranded in the middle of nowhere after getting hit by a bullet train. I repeat, he calls Happy when he's stranded in the middle of nowhere after getting hit by a bullet train. Listen, at the end of the day, everybody has to have somebody in their corner. He says that Happy bailed him out the whole movie. I just don't see how he's seeing that, because now, from what I remember, I could be incorrect, but that's the only time that he called Happy, and that was, yeah, that was a must, because you're stranded in the middle of nowhere after getting hit by a bullet train. And then you also have to double on the fact that Mysterio was playing 3D chess on Peter's brain, right? He didn't know what to believe or who to believe. So, of course, you would call someone that you trust the most. And so, of course, he calls Happy. I loved the relationship between Happy and Peter, and I really want to see how Happy is affected after No Way Home, because it was like Peter and of course Tony's daughter was like the last thing that Happy had to latch onto that was from Tony. He looked at Peter as the young Tony. So for him not to have that in his world anymore, I really want to see what that has done to his character. Because man, it hurts my heart just thinking about it. But yeah, I don't really calling him once when you're stranded in the middle of nowhere after getting hit by a bullet train. If you want to say that's him calling someone he trusts is too much help, then hey, go for it. I'm not gonna beat up a take like that too bad. But hey, we just on, I guess. Let's get on to his final point on why Tom Holland is the worst Spider-Man. Again, I think we're missing a major point in character development. But for starters, we don't see how Uncle Ben died. We don't even know when he died. If we do, then I stand incorrected, and you can put that in the comments about how I was wrong on that. But do we even know if Ben passed away when Peter was at a young age? Was it a very big moment for Peter? Did Peter even have his Spider-Man powers yet? We don't know. And the main reason why I say more than likely he probably didn't have his Spider Man powers and maybe Ben did pass away at a younger age for Spider Man is because Aunt May was Uncle Ben. That was, she took that role, right? So I'm not sure if we can use Uncle Ben to really, you know, say that. But for Tony, absolutely, right? But that was the whole point of Far From Home. His when he's crying to Happy about how much he screwed up and how he gave away the glasses and how he's and and how Tony wanted him to be the next Tony, but he's not the next Tony. And Happy's like, yeah, you're right. You're not Tony. And I don't think even Tony could live up to Tony, right? It's character growth. And what he went through in that led him to that. Now, yes, we can say you can argue that he didn't grow much from it considering what he did in No Way Home. But you also have to remember No Way Home was directly right after that, right? So he's still kind of growing from it. It happened right after that. And then of course during that moment he also loses May. So it wasn't it wasn't too much of a time gap from that and losing Aunt May. And the payoff we get is Spider-Man choosing to erase his entire identity as Peter Parker. That's where that responsibility growth part comes in. So to say he has no sense of responsibility, now I don't know if this came out before No Way Home. So if it did, then then we got to cut him a little bit of slack. But if it came out afterwards or during, then yeah, I don't see how we missed the character growth and the character development. But hey, it is what it is. All in all, I think he should revisit the home trilogy. And honestly, I really feel like everyone should. Those movies are actually they're very there's so much growth for Peter in those movies. And for what we are about to get in Brand New Day, everything from the home trilogy is leading up to that. It is leading up to this Spider-Man who, yeah, so I think a rewatch is due for Mr. Supes. I know he is getting absolutely, well, at least on my timeline, he's getting absolutely cooked. But honestly, I feel like if he does a rewatch, it's not too late to change a lot of these takes. I don't know why people feel like you have to die on a hill on a take, as if your opinion can't change or your mind can't change after certain factors and facts come out about something. So, as much as the community is cooking them, let's give him a chance. And instead of eviscerating him, we should really encourage him to rewatch the home trilogy. And if you still have the same takes after the rewatch, then hey, I'm interested in using the lens that he's using to watch these movies. But with all that being said, this that is my take on Soups. Please comment, like, and subscribe. The end goal to all of this is to one day be able to not only write my own film, but also direct a film as well. I already have some projects in mind in the working that are just for YouTube. It's nothing big, nothing major, as you can see, right? but every like, every comment, and every sub is a step forward to the bigger goal of directing and writing our own film one day. So, with that being said, please like, please subscribe, please comment, and I will see you in the next